The sun was almost down in the horizon as Brad Colden, Janina, and our couple, Roy, Nisha, and are just now entering into the hospital. Tess Mitch entering into the hospital, and that who on me automatically asks the question, where the fuck she's gone? Colden stares at James wearing his gray hat, Jurassic World hat. Some asshole in a Halloween costume attacked our brother. Tessman stares at Colden. Colden's leg was currently shifting up and down from PTSD. The group seemed to ignore the situation. Tess sat down in a chair in front of Colden and asked him, "Is he alive?" Colden stared at Tess evenly. His leg was now twitching up and down continuously. Colden responded, "I shot the motherfucker, but I missed. I popped 3 rounds off a gun, but missed." He just moved so fast, you know, and I missed. I said what I needed to say, and I guess I shouldn't have said anything, because as soon as he noticed me say what I said, he just ran out the damn window next to the next classroom next to him. Tess gets up and goes to the public civilian station at the main nurse's station and asks the nurse, which just happened to be Nisha Raines at the same time. Nisha Raines walked around the corner after Tess Mitch to the main nurse's station, taps him on the shoulder, and says that their brother James Mitch was on the 5th floor underneath ICU recovery. And answers a phone call revolving the situation, who was revealed to be Kevin Mitch. Nisha looks at the 3 Mitch brothers, in which Tess had ran up a staircase toward the main floor where James was at. Brad Mitch stood up and stood next to Colden and put his hand on his kneecap, trying to calm down his newly formed PTSD brother. Colden breathed heavily, and Brad responded to Colden lightly and said, "Brother, I remember when I first used the gun. It was an adrenaline rush. Colden's legs stopped moving. Still breathing heavily in response. "That's what I had. But I didn't know if the gun safety was off or not. I just took a shot in the dark and just pulled the trigger." Brad looked at Colden, then looked at a penny in which he was flipping multiple times in his hand. And I was wondering, "Where'd you get it?" Colin nodded his head up and down and said, "It was in her dad's. Well, it was Kevin Mitch. He had it in a box in his closet. There was a magazine and a picture. It just doesn't add up why Kevin would lie to us." Brad stares out the window at the ambulance truck that had brought James in. Before responding, you mean the lie that Kevin Mitch said to us saying he was his father? And here, it was the legendary Danny Brackett whom Sidney Prescott was supposed to have killed. Nisha hangs up the phone directly in the corner of the nurse's station before walking around the main desk, and stood next to Roy Carlson. Roy Carlson, who had noticed the name Sidney Prescott come out of their mouths, turned around and said something just as evenly. Roy Carlson says, what do you mean? Sidney Prescott from the Screen Killings? Brad's face turning to a confessional figurative of a speech of a face before he figured it out. You mean the one Billy Lewis's motherfucking girlfriend? Was Brad's response to it. Lisa turned around and stared at Brad. Nisha stared at Roy. Roy snicked underneath his breath.